Today on the Topping Show, the U.S. Surgeon General issues an advisory on firearms violence. Denver police trans knife charger goes, well, viral on social media. Volkswagen Jetta GLI still has a stick shift, as all vehicles should have. Drag performers lobby Congress for more protections. The new African American parliament leader calls for the death of white women and white children. San Francisco McDonalds of 30 years closes after the minimum wage increase. And Ford has yet another recall, this time with the F-150. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day because he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, you see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have the new Volkswagen Jetta GLI. Still has a stick shift, also known as manual transmission, also known as rowing your own. As all cars should have, by default, it is the most fun you'll have while driving. I cannot implore you enough that you should try it out while you still can, as more and more cars are just losing the whole option altogether to have a stick shift. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Bradley Brownell over at good old Jalopnik. Well, not really good old, they mostly just spend time defaming Elon and complaining and crying about him, but I partially digress. They say that, quote, the new Volkswagen GLI still has a manual, so you better buy one while you still can. They say that the new manual GLI gives you an increased opportunity to row your own. And you got a nice little picture of the new updated 2025 model year Volkswagen Jetta. It looks pretty cool. They gave it a nice big hunk of red plastic, goes around the front fast shot of the lip of the vehicle, which I joke, but it does help, bring out to the attention it's more performance oriented. Now, they also note that they're going to have some nice big, slightly larger brakes. Looks like they gave a nice coat of red paint on the calipers, some kind of bump out or bounce out a little bit more. They note that 18-inch wheels are available in silver or black, and they also have a pair of new colors, Monterey Blue Pearl and Monument Gray. And looks pretty interesting, pretty good for a Jetta as they give it a nice little facelift and upgrade a couple of body panels. Now, of course, the real fun is this picture that kind of shows you the rarest thing of all. You have that third pedal and the driver's side of the vehicle, and a good old stick shift in the middle, where you can choose whatever gear you want because you are in control of the driving experience. Now, they say that, quote, inside the Jetta GLI gets a pretty comprehensive remodel. It's adapting interior design Volkswagen introduced from the Atlas, including an 8-inch infotainment system. Also has full-width air vents, and unfortunately, piano black trim. They note that the infotainment screen does keep its shortcut buttons and knobs. The much hated touch controls for climate system are, they put that back? They say that, quote, the much hated touch control systems for the climate system are back. And they have revamped its backlighting peaks and valleys, added tactile wayfinding. Why? There's some things that should not be in an infotainment touchscreen. I mean, one of the dumbest things ever was when Honda, for the Civic, they had the volume increase only as a slide bar. And then on the steering wheel, you did have a tactile button. And granted, they fixed that for the next model year in 2019 for the Civic Si, so yes, I did miss out. Then they did reintroduce the little knob, so you could easily just quickly crank up the volume, as all driver enthusiasts want to do, when you can't hear the engine running good enough. But yeah, scroll down a little bit more, you actually see the good old stick shift right there. 6 gears for you to choose from. That's, you need to focus on what's the positives of the vehicle. Is that option for the stick shift is there. They say that, quote, now that the boilerplate stuff is off, let's celebrate the good here. Obviously, we're excited that Volkswagen has chosen to retain the stick for the GLI in spite of the making its hatchback GTI sibling DSG machine only, which is disgusting. They say that power still comes from the known quantity of 228 horsepower and 258 foot-pounds torque from the turbocharged inline-4. You can, of course, option for the 7-speed DSG for your GLI. Now, I actually do agree with this. They said, but, quote, you'd only do that if you're a coward. You're not a coward, are you? Unquote. Which, precisely. They note that the base model Jetta S has seen a price decrease about $160, so the GLI pricing hasn't been announced yet. They don't expect that to change too much, however. Which, 258 foot-pounds of torque, that's not too bad. I mean, it'd be nice to have a little bit more, but that's also not the point of a lot of these vehicles. It's more economy-based, more just for having fun, and you don't need a lot of horsepower to have fun. I mean, granted, my little Honda Civic Si is a little disappointing when I'm in a straight line at the track, but it is wildly fun, going into a corner and downshifting and then passing a Corvette or a C8 Corvette because it's their first day of the track. But nevertheless, it'll be interesting to see how many of these Volkswagens they really sell because, again, there is some demand for manual transmission, and you have a fair amount in the United States. I think it's partially because supply is sometimes not even available for some vehicles, but and there are also vehicles actually note in North America for the consumer demand to keep the stick shift alive for certain particular models, Porsche being one of them, or manufacturers being one of them. So it'll be interesting to see what's the actual take rate for the stick shift, how many people actually go out and buy it. But it is nice to see Volkswagen continuing to realize that there's a passionate consumer base out there, especially for the iconic Jetta that's been around forever. But let me know, would you ever want to buy one of these things? I mean, do you think the refresh, it looks pretty good? Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, you have San Francisco's iconic McDonald's location, well, is closing after 30 years, thanks to, again, the people voting and getting what they vote for, the $20 per hour minimum wage for fast food workers in California. Yeah. So, it is sad because obviously people are going to be losing roles. This coming us thanks to Alex Oliveira over at New York Post. They call it gut-wrenching at the closure of this location. And let me pull up the actual picture here, and I'll leave that up where I read a couple of the notes here. Oh, unless the computer freezes on me. Well, there we go. They say that, quote, coupled with the landlord refusing to negotiate long-term rent, high property taxes, and mall tenant fee, all which combined to making Stonesfield McDonald's the most expensive location to operate in his restaurant company. The new wage hike was just too much to keep the lights on. He says, the franchise owner said, quote, it has been a pleasure for my entire team and I to serve the 19th Avenue and Inksdale neighborhoods for more than 30 years. All of our valued team members have been offered opportunities to continue working at my restaurant company at or nearby other McDonald's. Since the minimum wage was introduced April 1st, numerous businesses have closed. Sorry, that's another quote on California, which again, ultimate painful irony. They did it April 1st as a cruel joke to business owners. They say that one recent closure included Arby's. Again, we talked about that. I've been there for 55 years, and yet, yeah, thanks to the government getting its nose in their business, it caused them to close as well. It is sad to see another McDonald's location closing. Thankfully, it sounds like the owner has multiple franchise locations where they can maybe migrate to and get another job at. But definitely not good business news as we see more and more restaurants closing, as not just San Francisco, $20 minimum wage, but you also have record high hyperinflation in the United States. It's just getting tougher and tougher for these restaurant businesses, and I don't see it getting better anytime soon, especially with a lot of these laws. I mean, once they're passed, they're never going to push it back. I mean, give it 18 months, they're going to be wanting $25, $35, $45 an hour for these minimum wage jobs in California. There's no limit to the government intervention. It'll be interesting to see what these companies try to do or how they might pivot. But it is sad to see another business close, but silver lining, it looks like they're getting jobs elsewhere. It'll be interesting to see what replaces that. But as I always say, time shall tell. Now going over to the Culture Pride podcast, you have the Denver police trans knife charger going viral on social media, and we'll see if the mainstream media actually picks it up for New York, more than the New York Minute. Now this is brought to us first thanks to Libs of TikTok over at X Twitter, and she says, quote, breaking more trans violence, Denver police just confirmed that the individual who charged at officers with a knife was a man pretending to be a woman. The department also admitted there's a possibility that the individual named Miguel Tapia is in the country illegally. The media has been referring to Tapia as a woman. It's time we talk about the growing epidemic of trans violence in our country. Here's a little 39-second news clip of looks like, is it NBC 9? Struggling to see the original person who recorded this, but I believe that is a reference. And it's like about 39 seconds. We'll see what the police have to say.
And was a trans woman and possibly houseless. And they are concerned that perhaps that factored in somehow. Is there something that you would like to say?
I would. Certainly we have discovered that the person was transgender, and there is a belief that the person was houseless. But that did not factor into our decision. I mean, what factored into our decision was the person had a knife and was moving aggressively towards the officers. They tried, I think, in vain to stop them through less lethal means, and then had to transition to a lethal option when that was not when that didn't work.
Again, they have immunity. I mean, it sounds like it was pretty straightforward. Now, of course, if someone charges at you with a knife, depending on the prosecutor, you might go to jail if you were to take action to properly defend yourself. It went pretty well. Within a couple hours, got 836,000 views and 7.9 thousand likes. There's TikTok continued saying, quote, the trans... What? I don't know why they censored the word... Well, I don't know. Maybe they'll get banned on the social media? The bad word that starts with a T? I'll say a terrorist. They say, they quote, the trans terrorist who charged the officers with a knife may be here illegally and have a criminal history. Wow. They say that, quote, police responded to a call of an individual standing in the middle of the road yelling. He then charged at them with a, let's say, large knife. I'm a fan who asks if it's large or not. It looks like it's about 6 3/4 inch. Maybe a Bowie design. Not David Bowie, obviously. Well, actually, I don't know what he's up to these days, but he was not the original owner, even if he's carrying one. They got 618 likes. Like, this might get graphic, so warning for anyone in the audience who's younger watching. Looks like this is the police dash cam. It's about 55 seconds long.
Hey, put your stuff down and put your hands on your head. Put your hands on your head. Put your hands on your head. Hey, hey.
Oh, yeah. This. Again, this person is standing in the middle of the street, busy intersection. Of course, not wearing a suit.
Hey, hey.
And yeah, this police department was a lot more lenient than how I think they would have handled it if other people were doing the same thing. So they're having someone with a knife, and they're giving them verbal warning a couple of times. Then they tase an individual or attempt to. Person keeps charging at him, and again, when you look at the statistics on how much time you have to react when someone starts charging at you, I forget if it's 25 feet, and granted, everyone's different with their reaction time, but you consistently hear, is it 15 or 25 feet? I'm trying to remember the statistic on where you're basically screwed if you don't pull your gun out of the holster by that point. I'm actually surprised this officer was able to pivot that quickly.
Get the knife. She's still holding it up. Throw it up.
Like, person is wearing heels? And it looks like they're attempting to save this individual or provide medical assistance.
Yeah. All right. You good, sir? Yeah. You're on, right? Yep. Sure.
Oh, they're handcuffing him. Never mind. Oh, so. But yeah, there's no way this is going to be. I mean, no lawyer is going to try to go against this call. I mean, again, I'm no legal analyst, but it looks like they gave plenty of verbal warning, and they were definitely in danger given the circumstances. Let me see here. So Liv's TikTok also said, hi, thank you to an account called Do Better Denver for helping us get the story. They got 375 likes. Which, let's see, is this the same footage?
She's still holding on up.
That's the same footage. One of the first comments comes from Gunther Eagleman saying trans violence has become an epidemic and will get worse until we take steps to stop it. Getting 291 likes, which I need to look into the statistics on this. I would be interested to see if it's at a greater rate than the general population. We're seeing a lot of anecdotal evidence. Now, that being said, their population trans community is also increasing as a percentage of the United States. So I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. We've seen similar instances with similar types of sample sizes. Now you have Planet of Memes. They did respond to meme form today. You have the iconic little, the funny thing from The Simpsons where they take down the sign, 0 days without, a workplace, incident. And he's taking out a sign that says, days without trans violence, and it's taking down the 1 to replace the 0. Got 188 likes. Paul Zuzupa saying, this is ridiculous. Now trans illegals are coming to America committing violence. I'm sure the media will hide both parts of Miguel Tapia's story. Trans violence by illegals is violence. 61 likes. You have BK Trump Take Back America saying there's a pattern here. And they have a picture of a compilation, 6 shooters. And it says COS shooter identified as non-binary, Denver shooter identified as trans, Aberdeen shooter identifies as trans, Nashville shooter identified as trans. That's where the government intentionally hid the manifesto, so we realized this person was also heavily anti-Christian. And then they say the Philly shooter is identified as cross-dressed, and the Perry shooter identifies as trans. They got 176 likes. Lurkat Media TM responded with their usual picture that says, raise your hand if you're tired of the shit, getting 134 likes. The Salty Goat says, new twist. Trans illegals are a wrinkle we haven't seen much of, but does LGBT stand for the same thing in Spanish? Got 130 likes. Let's see. Wow, really? 3 times? So Jose Carcero says, it took them long enough to tell us what a transgender did this. According to the police, the woman was shot on June 16th when she advanced towards officers with a large knife. And it's an article saying this individual is a woman, and it says tasers were deployed 3 times before the officers fatally shot the woman in Denver. That's their quote, not mine. They got 17 likes, and also reminds me of 1984. Definitely don't make that a drinking game when I reference that, because you assuredly be incapacitated very quite quickly. One of the best books ever written by George Orwell, well, anyone in history. Yeah, they talk about rewriting language and newspeak being very, very common and intentionally done to confuse people. Capitalist Mike says it's intentional programming. It's I forget the cartoon of the trans pride. It says I'll show those straight people or straight white people how evil they are. Got 78 likes. Let's see here. That's France 84 says the Democrats did this, encouraged these beliefs, give them a few inches. Now they took miles. They created chaos in the country. Time to reel the crazies back in. Trump should definitely start mental asylums again. These people need deprogrammed from the Matrix. Getting 67 likes, which, yeah, that's one of the points of controversy. I think, was it under the Reagan administration? A lot of those facilities were shut down. Now, many of them were also very not. One of the biggest points of contention with that is, well, one, you're being taken against your will. That's very scary when you can think of, well, do you trust the people who are doing that? How many times do you trust the government? And that's probably not too often. And another issue was some of those places were abusing people. And some people, of course, now in some instances, people did receive help. And I think that's the big question is, how do you help these people? Do they really just need some counseling? I don't personally believe pumping them full of chemicals is really much value. I don't think that would really help them. And depending on who's counseling, of course, it could do more worse than good. But I believe something needs to be done. And I think it really is a cultural issue where, we don't have, in the United States, you've seen a great decline in religion, and family, and community. I don't think it's a coincidence that many of these incidents are exponentially increasing. Now, also in this case, you have someone who's crossing the border illegally. The United States also doesn't really have much of a border. It's almost as, I would say, it's almost as effective as Borders bookstore. That's a joke because they closed like over a decade ago, headquartered in Michigan, for the fun business fact of the day. Now, just going down for more comments, or some of the top comments, you have Craig Chamberlain saying, can we just go ahead and deal with the mental health crisis we're having going on in our country now, instead of attempting to be politically correct about it, getting 34 likes. Let's see. So Sibian Alexander responds with a comment saying he's a sex offender. Do Better Denver says and this is responding with a screenshot of something by Do Better Denver saying the media says a woman killed by police on June 16 was this man, a sex offender who was non-compliant with registering in Wisconsin and had not registered in Colorado. So, yep, will not be missed. Got 46 likes. Bruce Bilao says Denver supports this delusion. Good luck, getting 56 likes. See if there's any contrarian statements. Merrick Garland press release parody account says someone needs to tell the media. It's a picture of the trans flag. It says trans women are men, getting 93 likes. A lot of people bringing up other evidence of trans individuals committing crimes. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not seeing any contrarian statements. And again, this has become a huge political issue as well as a cultural issue. So I'm sure there are millions of people who are going to be irate that this happened in terms of this individual no longer being alive. And granted, they were also convicted sex offender. So here's my 2 cents. Used to be 3 cents, but 40, or actually no, my 3 cents. It used to be 2 cents. 40-year hyperinflation gotta increase the rate. But yeah, I don't think society is going to be. I think society is better off, certainly. Now, I also think it's a failure of society. Well, both the border, this should have never happened. You can say about a lot of incidents, but I think this is one of the reasons you'll continue to see the border being one of the top policies culturally as well as politically in the next couple of months as we get close to the election. And again, this person, I mean, they had a criminal record, and yet again, they weren't deported. Yet again, they weren't thrown into jail. Or so, again, another great example of the ineptitude of the government, just multiple failures. And it'll be interesting to see from a culture perspective, where does the pendulum swing in regard to this? What is the most effective methodology to help these people? But let me know in the comments, because again, the anecdotal evidence is mounting. And if you have any specific references, I haven't seen any specific studies on this, but again, is that rate of the violence in trans community greater than other communities? When again, their community is increasing as a percentage in the United States. But again, it'd be fascinating to see the actual percentage of crime. I don't think it's out. Again, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. It could be significantly greater than the other ones. But let me know in the comments. As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news: you have drag performers lobbying Congress for more LGBTQ plus protections on CNN, and it went viral. I had to do a little squinting because, yeah, it's always fascinating. Sometimes they do include some letters, and sometimes they don't. Not very inclusive of them, now is it? But I partially digress. This is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness on X Twitter. He says, quote, "No, this is not an SNL skit. This is CNN." I mean, nowadays, what's the difference? But looks like it's only about 1 minute and 40 seconds long. Of course, they didn't suit up. It looks like one of the gals, or the interviewer. Yes, interviewer. She has a blazer of some type. But I partially digress. We'll see what they have to say. It's about 1 minute and 40 long, so not too long. And the description in the text, or the little banner of the CNN, says, "Calls for equality. Drag performers lobbying Congress for LGBTQ plus protections." Let's see here, without too much further ado.
I'm curious for you, first of all, what this day means to you. And second of all, have both Democrats and Republicans agreed to meet with you?
Yes, we will be meeting with both Democrats and Republicans. And I'm really excited to go speak with.
It looks like this individual is known by Riddy Bandit. Can't be their legal. Well, it might be the legal name that changed it. So Brigitte, Brigitte Bandit. That better be a pun about stealing the show, otherwise it's a miserable name. Almost as ridiculous as something like Topping. Wait, I partially digress. Now, if you're just tuning in, you don't see it, you're just listening. The drag queen looks like, again, I am by no means a fashion aficionado. However, this person has about 10 pounds of makeup thrown on their face. Reminds me of, like, what is it? The Venture Bros, the bee people. Kind of looks like a bee. They have, looks like plastic you get from the dollar store, and it's like a raincoat, and of course it's all pink. And it looks like it has a Karen hairstyle with the blonde hair down to the shoulders and then more pink. They went to the store and just said, "Give me all the pink." And it looks like a rudimentary raincoat from the dollar store. That's a fashion burn. Nevertheless, back to what they have to say.
With all of our lawmakers about the attacks that we're seeing on our LGBTQ community, it's so important to talk about.
Which ones? Again, I don't think it's ever appropriate to have any forms of physical violence, but in terms of attacks on that community, maybe they'll articulate specifically an instance. What have we seen in the past year? A couple burnouts on murals that are painted on the street on intersections, which I would argue is just done strategically to get people to prosecute people, but nevertheless.
And to discuss protections for our queer community.
Can I let you listen to the current sentiment that's being shared by former President Donald Trump, who, of course, is running for re-election? Here it is.
We're going to take care of our capital. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding of any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the lives of our children.
In those three things, he mentions what he calls transgender insanity. If he's voted in as the next president, what will that mean to you?
We already see so many attacks on our queer community. I already don't feel safe in my own hometown, just dressed in drag like this. And it's very scary for queer people to exist in a time where we see this kind of rhetoric being pushed by our lawmakers and the people who should care about other issues that actually affect the American people, other than attacking our community, our LGBTQI plus community. It's very disappointing, and I hope for better for our country.
So again, well, this time the individual used the whole acronym, but interesting enough, when CNN said it, they just said LGBTQ. So will CNN be canceled? Probably not. But yeah, Trump is talking about, getting that out of the public schools. It's fascinating and kind of concerning when you have more public schools having more pride flags and trans flags than American flags. And kind of shows their priorities. You also have schools that are transitioning kids without the parental knowledge or consent, giving them drugs that are destroying their bodies. It actually concerned every American. It's actually horrifying that it doesn't, and it's horrifying that this, in terms of culturally, this is a very divisive issue. I really wonder how many people that are truly educated on a specific topic really believe in it, but it has also become a political issue as well, where you do have people known as leftists who are very much left-wing. They want to have, adult toys in the classrooms where they learn about it. They have books that say this is gay, and in the books they have explicit sexual acts in elementary schools. It's horrifying to say the least, but they want that. I wonder why. Now, in terms of comments, my pre-roll got 1.2 million views, as well as 14,000 likes. And one of the first comments comes from Paul Zupa saying this is what Joe Biden thinks is normal, getting 343 likes. Arthur Eagleman says this is mental illness, getting 965 likes. The Texas one says it's globalist, we're not propping up CNN, it would already be off the air, getting 32 likes. Liberty Pill Memes says government, and they respond in meme form, so they do get an A+ for marketing. Calling you out a clown, or was it Planet of Memes, a 50-50 shot if they respond in meme form. Now they have a picture of a classroom with a teacher who's sitting down next to a black BLM flag, a gun-free zone flag, stop hate crime sign, a trans pride progress flag, a sign that says equality, bring back Roe, trans rights, and they're talking to someone dressed up as Moses, and they're saying government cannot impose morality. And that got 188 likes. I thought that would get more. Let's see, yeah, General TM saying, so CNN shut down an interview with the Trump campaign in person, but interview this thing. Getting 554 likes, which, yeah, I mean, they're priorities. Right Wave Press says, you can't take these people seriously. They dress like Looney Tunes characters and prey on your children. Follow if you agree. That got 162 likes. AKA says mentally ill, getting 277 likes. Let's see here. Hello, I'm Kelly Joe says, why are drag queens being entertained by Congress, getting 109 likes. It is fascinating to see the resource allocation and the interest in what they do in DC and what priorities they do and do not take care of. Let's see here. Liberty Pill Memes, they do a couple. Read one more, two more. They have the Peter Parker Spider-Man thing where he puts on his glasses. So before he puts on his glasses, it says the problem is the this is the new one. They added a yellow triangle and a purple circle, or an outline of a circle, stencil. Marketing is terrible. If you're not consistent with your messaging, it makes it very confusing. Though it is great for the people who sell flags. They are making a killing these days. Now, it says that flag is a problem, and then when he puts on his glasses, it says the solution is Jesus. Got 72 likes. Let's see, the Democrat Media TM also says, I bet they won't cut its mic off. It says, keep telling your kids. And it's the, not infographic, but it's the thing where you have a flag next to every word. It says no one has to go along with this weird shit. And they're all now covered in tire tread marks, as we see more and more trucks doing burnouts in intersections where they're painting murals of pride stuff on the ground, which is the most inopportune place to put it ever, I would think. That got 97 likes. You have Dale saying the sickness and human ruin of woke. It says, they brainwashed you, someone holding the pride flag, getting lots of shots, and all the mainstream media. The guy next is just a trad guy holding an American flag. He says, really? Got 24 likes. Let's see here. Mohads says the Clowns News Network has an actual clown to interview. Amazing, getting 54 likes. Wall Street Bet says I can't unsee the Hunger Games, getting 56 likes. Terry says it's a straight up mental illness, that Trump is right, America doesn't want this crap around our children, getting 52 likes. Let's see. Joseto Carsaro says 3 drag queens are taking to Capitol Hill to lobby against the wave of anti-LGBTQ plus bills in the United States, which many aim to restrict their art. Oh dear God. This is great for the makeup companies. They're making a killing. There's about no less than 3 pounds of makeup on this person's face. It's a picture of the 3 folks, and that got on my eyes. My eyes, they burn. You got 3 likes. Let's see here. Jeez, was it Simple Jack from Tropic Thunder? The little Photoshop to make it look trans. It says, when you misgendered, it says, you making my eyes rain. Getting 27 likes. It'll be interesting to see how much this becomes kind of bleeds over into politics and culturally speaking. Again, I really don't think a lot of Americans realize how prevalent this is in public schools, and I wonder what specific protections they're looking for. Again, it would have been much more educational for everyone if this individual were to say, hey, we want A, B, and C things to happen, or 1, 2, 3 bullet points. This is what we're telling the government we want. Maybe they would just want to have more one-on-one time while they're reading to children. Fascinatingly, they never read for the elderly or the homeless or veterans, but I partially digress. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Do you think this will, culturally speaking, we will see an exponential increase in rate of these types of drag performers wanting more special protection of Congress? Do you think you'll see an increase in drag performing in general? Let me know in the comments. As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have this U.S. Surgeon General issuing an advisory on firearms violence. Now, I know you're probably all thinking, what the hell, that's not his job. Well, yes, precisely. However, they always declare emergencies when they steal all of your rights. So I wonder what's coming next. Now, again, this is brought to us straight from the donkey's mouth. This is, again, Dr. Vivek Murthy, who is the U.S. Surgeon General. And I'll go ahead and we'll play his little video here as well as read his text on X Twitter. He says, quote, today for the first time in history of our office, I'm issuing a Surgeon General advisory on firearms violence. Firearms violence is the public health crisis in America that poses a serious threat to the health and well-being of our country. No, it's obesity, diabetes. But it's heartbreaking. Some of the most preventable deaths, the highest percentage of deaths in the United States, a lot of them are preventable. By just literally eating a healthy diet and exercise. Granted, they can't really profit off of that except maybe the gym owners. So maybe that's why we don't hear about it too often these days. Let me go ahead and I'll pull up his video here.
Hello,
and it's only about, minute 47 seconds, so it's not too long. And granted, it might hurt your brain cells, because most people would argue it's mentally vacuous or deceptive. Yeah, but nevertheless, this is, I think, very important politically, because, again, these people have a lot of power.
Hello, I'm U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy. Today, for the first time in the...
That's so weird. He has an American flag behind him. You really don't see that a lot in politics these days. And I'm only half joking. That's the sad thing. It looks like he is wearing a uniform, so he kind of suited up, so at least he has some fashion sense.
History of our office, I am issuing a Surgeon General's advisory on firearm violence. It outlines the urgent threat firearm violence poses to the health and well-being of our country. As a doctor, I've seen the consequences of firearm violence up close. Hello, I'm U.S.
Oh, really? Come on, X Twitter.
First time in the history of our office, I am issuing a Surgeon General's advisory on firearm violence. It outlines the urgent threat firearm violence poses to the health and well-being of our country. As a doctor, I've seen the consequences of firearm violence up close in the lives of the patients I've cared for over the years. These are moms and dads, sons and daughters, all of whom were robbed of their physical and mental health by senseless acts of violence.
Who runs those cities?
Unfortunately, the problem has continued to grow. 54% of adults in America report that they or a family member have experienced a firearm-related incident.
Whether they've been
personally threatened with or injured by a firearm, lost a family member, witnessed a shooting, or shot a firearm in self-defense.
That last bullet point is a good thing. That's the main purposes of firearms is defend yourself from a tyrannical government as well as evil people. So he's trying to conflate these numbers. He said, "Oh yes, so it's apparently bad that someone who used a firearm in self-defense. That's a good thing. That's what they're for. It's like saying someone who owns a car that drove." But I partially digress. It says have been personally.
Many of these harms are disproportionately felt in our communities. Black individuals endure
communities that your side of the political aisle has controlled for nearly a century. Look at Chicago. the poster boy of ineptitudes of why gun laws don't work. They just disarm law-abiding citizens. Again, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in a suburb over there. It's heartbreaking and comical and disgusting how they just keep disarming law-abiding Americans and citizens while the bad guys in the government keep the guns. And spoiler alert, Chicago gets worse every year. That's why businesses and people leave in droves.
Were the highest rates of firearm homicides, while suicide rates are highest among veterans, older white individuals, and younger American Indian and Alaska Native people. What is especially devastating is how this has affected our children. Firearm violence has become the
data manipulation. Now, let me know. Again, if you're an innocent person passing away, that's a heartbreaking thing. It shouldn't happen. I'm against that. That's why I want people to have the right to defend themselves. Now, the way he's saying, oh yeah, all these children are dying. They define children ages 1 to 19. That's one of the biggest reasons you see these statistics of people are passing away using firearms is inner city gang violence. They're not children. These are grown adults, 17, 18, 19. And that's, when you look at the percentage of where the firearm deaths are coming from, that's it. So again, more data manipulation. Again, we should not be surprised, but this is also a very important reason to know your sample size when you're looking at any statistics or data, and how are they defining these terms. In this case, they're saying a child is up to 19 years old. I don't know anyone who considers a 19-year-old to be statistically a child. That's legally an adult. But I partially digress. And it's interesting. After 2020, the rates increase for many of these instances of deaths of children, or many of these methodologies. Well, we'll go back to what he has to say. I know it's painful, but it's almost done.
Number one cause of death among children and adolescents. More than...
All right, so let's break this down. They say number one death is firearm. Another one is motor vehicles. Another one is poisoning, which is drug and non-drug related. Well, one of those, poisoning, you know what millions of Americans are dying for, including children, and I mean, you know, also adolescents and teenagers, fentanyl overdoses, because the drugs are laced with it. Guess where that comes from? Well, made in China, but manufactured and then subsequently distributed through the southern border via Mexico. Or Mexico, if you want to feel so fancily inclined. So that, again, that's another big ineptitude of the U.S. government right there. And that the border issue has been going around for decades, left and right. They haven't bothered to fix the problem. So that's interesting that they note that statistic as well is increasing by a lot. Go back to what he has to say.
In car accidents or drug overdoses. I've sat with parents who...
What is that other one? Is that cardiovascular? It looks like, again, my eyesight's not the best, but I think that is one of the data points that did also increase after 2020. And actually increased in the past couple of years. Interesting.
I've sat with parents who've lost a child to firearm violence. I've listened to their stories and felt their pain as they describe the holes in their hearts. As a father, I know a parent's worst nightmare is to lose a child, to feel like you can't protect your child from harm.
In terms of moves on political chessboard, using emotional manipulation and rhetoric at the end, makes sense. Disgusting, yes. Went viral though. First couple hours got 1.7 million views. Insane. Also got 4.5 thousand likes. Interesting. That is one of the worst ratios I've seen all year. See here. I think he actually took the time to type out his entire speech. Yeah, he did. Now, as you might say, he got ratio to say the least. One of the first responses comes from the red-headed libertarian saying, quote, "You cannot declare a natural right a public health crisis, you demon." Getting 9.5 thousand likes. Paul Zazupa says, any advisory on obesity, getting 345 likes. Nope, because the government, in my opinion, perhaps just because they want you weak and inept so they keep voting for free, easy life. Again, the United States is the most obese country on the planet. If you want to make any argument for a public health crisis, that would be one. Most Americans are not fit to actually serve in the U.S. military. Again, there are many, I think there are a myriad of reasons, culturally and politically, or methodologies rather, they can do to address the obesity issue in the United States, including having tax incentives for, maybe gym classes, healthy foods. There are many ways you can incentivize a healthy lifestyle. But Unfortunately, the pessimist in me thinks, well, that's the antithesis of what they want. They want you lazy, fat, and stupid, easy to manipulate. And it's also the public school system having the 37-year low ACT scores. And yet the teachers' unions want more money. Arthur Eagleman says, quote, now due to the trans violence getting 944 likes. I meme, therefore I am. Yeah, they did not meme, but I partially digress. They say, quote, hey, you dumb F, why don't you share these numbers from 2023? 108,000 estimated deaths from drug overdose, over 300,000 deaths attributed to obesity, 1,026,700 deaths from abortions, 43,000, I think it's a typo, the comma's in the wrong spot, it says 4,300 estimated deaths from gun violence. Now, also should be told, or should be noted that in most cases when they talk about quote-unquote gun violence and deaths from guns, those include good kills, or kills that are legally appropriate and you are justified, such as when someone tries to break into your house and do threat to try to damage or take away life from you and your family. You are legally, I would say, you're not only legally permitted, I would argue it's your right, not only your right, I would argue it's your responsibility, it's your calling to defend your family with lethal force. Now again, if you're in New Jersey, no, you actually legally have the right to get out of the house, which is why no one with modicum of intelligence, I would argue, would live there, because, yeah, it's called burden to retreat. That's why there's a very important to have both the castle doctrine as well as the stand your ground law, which stand your ground is outside, but I partially digress. Mr. Leadslinger says, stay in your lane. And it's the Firearms Policy Coalition putting this out, which is one of the few organizations that really fights for gun rights, while the NRA mostly acquiesces and pretends to fight for gun rights. Appreciate their trainings that they do for many, especially the kids program, but nevertheless, Firearms Policy Coalition simply said, F off, F no, F you, F no, F off. They actually used an entire explicitive. They got 1.3 thousand likes. Tim Decentralized and Nullify said, why don't you concern yourself with the far greater crisis of heart disease, diabetes, various forms of cancer, and medical industry related negative outcomes? Oh, that's right. That's because you don't want to solve the problems. You want to be a partisan hack. Getting 653 likes. Let's see here. Being Libertarian said, quote, is this you? And it's a tweet from Mr. Vivek Murthy. Was it from 2012? He says, quote, there's currently circulating myths suggesting that masks don't work to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The myth uses CDC MAR published September 11th, 2020 to make the assertion, getting 627 likes. Here we go. This is perfect. American 357, good cartridge and name, says you are a moron, and has a black and white picture of young men holding rifles. It says many schools used to have rifle teams, and students brought guns to schools. Nobody shot anyone. Guns aren't the problem. Our society has decayed. Got 450. Let's make it 451 likes, which it's very true. And don't even get me started on the rudimentary argument of someone saying, "Oh, we didn't have high-powered rifles back in the day." Well, speaking in terms of caliber power, I mean, one of the most powerful rounds out there is going to be the 50 cal musket, which we've had since the inception of the country, 50 cal flintlock. And not only that, you've had detachable magazines for well over 100 years. And the AR-15, that's legally, I mean, that was patented in what, it's embarrassing. Was it 50 or 60 by Eugene Stoner over at Armorlight? Again, we've had firearms since the inception of our country. It's a cultural decay that's leading to all this. We've had the arms forever, but I partially digress. Going down more and more. So Zeno says, we don't have a gun problem, we have a mental health problem, we have a nuclear family problem, we have a godless society problem, we have a greedy politicians problem, we have a law enforcement problem, we have an illegal immigration problem, we have a corrupt government problem. There's a little fun little infographic or a little target that says gun rights, gun laws, gun lobby, in the middle is mental illness, and every part of the target is shot except the mental illness one. Got 98 likes. See here? Spitfire says LMFAO because guns go off by themselves, getting 331 likes. True. Mild-mannered Maniac says 97% of gun violence is committed in Democrat-run cities, getting 697 likes. And when you break that down statistically more, it is mostly gang violence. But it's usually gang-on-gang violence. So yes, once you remove those, it's fascinating statistically. If you were to get rid of, I believe, the top 6 cities in the United States in terms of violent crime, murder, and gun violence, the U.S. in terms of globally becomes one of the most peaceful countries on the planet. You also have Christina Pushaw saying Soros DAs and public health are crisis actually, getting 737 likes. one or two more. It's got to be some contrarian statements. Because again, there are a lot of, I wouldn't call them Americans, I call them mentally and emotionally vacuous people that they do want to restrict and they actually want to take away our guns. Which again, they've never read a history book or, again, George Orwell's 1984. Because again, every single time in history the government takes guns is when the most morally evil things happen. Every single time. There's no outlier. Now, you also have the U.S. Ministry of Truth saying the Biden administration really is going after is doing their gayest announcements during Pride Month this year. 987 likes. Jackson Brown says, backdoor gun control. You aren't fooling anyone. No, we aren't giving up our guns. We aren't getting in your cattle cars. F you fascist. Got 380 likes. And as well as an infographic, but a picture of kids about to get in a cart. Reminiscent of, obviously, the Holocaust, getting 380 likes. Going down more and more. The Dark Knight says, up next, how free speech equals violence. Nobody asked their opinion. Getting 119 likes. Let's see. That was an infographic on how many shots a kid gets by age 2. They got 478 likes. A lot of people saying, let's see, Symbol Public saying F all fascists, getting 582 likes. And this person's really getting ratioed. A lot of people posting the Second Amendment. It's fascinating how many politicians can't read. Well, let's be honest, they just don't care about the Bill of Rights or Second Amendment. They just trowel over it. Here. Tony Kingett says, I ate 15 guns this morning and I feel fine. Getting 50 likes. Yeah, because usually, medical professionals will be talking about, stuff that you put inside your body, whether you're eating or having pharmaceuticals put into you. Let's see. Code of Vets says, I support the Constitution. I support the Second Amendment. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. Age-old saying that is true, getting 25 likes. We'll do one more. Name cannot be blank. Interesting profile name. Say, but your boss claims that violent crime is down. Since cities are no longer reporting violent crime to the federal government, how would you come to this conclusion? Getting 301 likes. Which, yes, I believe is specifically, was it San Francisco and New York City? There are a couple that are just straight up not reporting it anymore. So, yeah, we'll see about that. And it'll be interesting to see what comes of this. The CDC, again, now becoming more of a partisan hack, for years they actually tracked how many times guns were used in self-defense, whether it's simply brandishing the firearm, whether it's actually taking it out and doing a warning shot, or taking it out and actually doing a legal justified shooting of someone. And, I mean, as recently as 2022, they estimated that 5.6 million instances of guns were being used appropriately to thwart violent offenders. And then later they said they're going to just stop tracking that data. Ask yourself why. They tracked that for decades. Because it made guns look good. It showed people the truth of how much good comes from legal, law-abiding citizens having their God-given right to defend themselves and carry a firearm. So it'll be interesting to see what are they really going to go after here. Again, the federal government has a lot of power these days, more than the founding fathers could ever perfectly comprehend, unfortunately. And it'll be interesting to see. We've had calls for gun bans since I was ever since I was a kid. At what point do they start to restrict it more and more? And will the cases make it to way through court? Let me know in the comments. As always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have the new African parliament calling on them to kill white women and children 5 times. Quite concerning to say the least. Now, this is coming to us thanks to Boer. And this again is from South Africa. They say, quote, newly elected member of parliament in South Africa saying, we want to kill white man's children, kill their women, and kill anything that we find in our way. I bet you don't see this in the mainstream media. I mean, I don't say the odds are 0, but 0.000000187%. Approximately, you'll see this on CNN. Granted, I don't know why you'd be watching it. I partially jest. You should gain as much information as possible, even if you don't agree with it, because echo chambers get boring. And basically, you're not, I would say strategically, you want to know if you're, going against the other side ideologically, what are they thinking, what are the methodologies, but I partially digress. And of course, this gentleman did not suit up. He's wearing a rudimentary sweater. Looks like something from the 90s, like you see on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but partially digress. Let's hear what he has to say.
For each one person that is being killed by the taxi industry, we kill 5 white people. For every 1 black person you kill, we'll kill 5 white people. You kill 1 of us, we'll kill 5 of you. We'll kill the children, we'll kill the women, we'll kill anything that we find on our way. They kill 1 of us, we kill how many? They kill 1 of us, we kill how many? They kill 1 of us, we kill how many whites? We kill kill the children, we kill the women, we kill their dogs, we kill their cats, we kill anything that comes before.
Wow. Went viral, got 1 million views earlier this week, got 9.6 thousand likes. So again, if you can't hear what he's saying, because it's hard to understand what he's saying, well, truth be told, he probably speaks more eloquently than I, but nevertheless, he's, as far as I could hear from him, he's saying if you kill one of us, we'll kill 5 of you, which I'm not sure how much, I don't know the current statistics in terms of how often that actually happens, but yeah, that's one thing. And then another thing, in terms of ideologically, I believe, crossing yet another line, is saying you would kill women and children, which I can't think of anyone with a modicum of intelligence or heart that would think that would be an appropriate statement, yet alone even worse than an action. It's quite horrifying. Now, got, again, many comments. Again, 1 million views in here I was posting. And Boris also said, please sign this petition. Let's get this vile piece of rubbish out of Parliament. There's another picture of him smiling with that. Again, I'm by no means a fashion aficionado, but it really looks like a disgusting sweater. Mostly blocks of random colors. That petition, that got 793 rather. Elon Musk responded with 2 exclamation points, getting 3,000 likes. Well, yeah, that's because again, he's actually, statistically speaking, I believe the most successful African American in history, bar none. Got again 3,000 likes. Let's see here. Borer said, and the court ruled it's not hate speech because, well, blacks can't be racist. Imagine a white person saying this. This is actually, that is an article from 2023 from the, what is it? It's written by Nisha Bahari. I can't, let's see, the judicial, I apologize, I can't make out the actual, it's a little fuzzy in terms of the logo of the part of the country or in the continent, but nevertheless it says, this name is going to be rough. MNGXITAMA. Minjitmama. It's almost as ridiculous as a name like Topping. Oh wait, I partially digress, but it says Minjitmama. Says, quote, kill the whites, their children, women, dogs, and cats. Remark, quote, quote, not hate speech, according to Nisha Bahari. Wow. They say that, quote, magistrate dismissed AFRI Forum's application with cost after the VLF leader said his utterance meant not to be taken literally. Yeah, that got 1.1 thousand likes. And again, I mean, politically, politicians, historically, they get bombastic. I mean, this is literally calling for violence, and yet, yeah, that's okay. Going down more and more. Let's see. Belmont Demonologist says, well, there's a well this way, make your will unbreakable. Says, who will win? Looks like, I don't know if that's Desert Storm or Vietnam. It says, well, no, actually, I think it tells us the battle. It says 84 pale farm boys with short shorts, and they're military men armed. It says, or 800 guerrilla warriors trained by the USSR. Looks like, wow. Here's the casualties. Looks like 4 of the Americans were injured, and Zenalia is 1,228 to 2,000 Zinas, and Mozambique rather, and 30 casualties. Wow. Going down more and more. E. Leon says it's white supremacy to have an issue with this, and the ADL statement on Kill Boer. They say, quote, the Anti-Defamation League today issued a statement in response to the recent debate over the song Kill the Boer and baseless claims of the white genocide that have been made by right-wing extremists, particularly white supremacists. Wow. In the United States for years. Was that, do you think that was a song? Yeah, that got 301 likes. Was he rapping or something? I don't know what kind of genre of music that is. And again, in terms of that being music, yeah, that's horrifying. Let's see. Lord Miles says, what's 30R and heroin does to MF? Got 447 likes. See here. Trying to see if there's any contrarian statements here. Let's see. Patriots United says these are the kind of refugees we need to open our borders to. People in real peril from hostiles within their nation. Okay. Yeah. I got 89 likes for New York Minute. I thought he meant to importing the gentleman who was making the speech. Obviously not. Pulling down more and more. See, Brian Basin says, and yet no one in the world believes this. 21 likes. See. Law and Order says, he said, we kill the children. Jesus Christ, I've never heard anything like that in my whole life. Why is he not locked up? Getting 48 likes. not sure if this is fact checked or not. There's just two screens. They don't give me a link to an article. Event Horizon has a screenshot, and it says Louisville provided free housing to African American community in 2009, and in 2009 the houses looked pretty immaculate, nice single family house homes. Then in 2019 they're all dilapidated. Oh my gosh, even the lawns look terrible. Which, the older you get, the more you realize the importance of a well-maintained lawn. But I partially digress. They did get 52 likes. Now, again, I'm not sure the circumstance of this neighborhood or what went down. Going down more and more. Canadian simply says they hate white people, getting 21 likes. Now, in terms of, how much this will culturally affect the United States, I'm not sure how many parallels people will attempt to draw to United States, kind of politically and culturally, in terms of, what crimes are and are not prosecuted, and in terms of, what does this show, or what could this be? I mean, in terms of U.S. applications, I don't think anyone in the U.S. is going to call for this political leader or political person to be recalled, and I don't even think you could, because again, it's another country. But it is quite horrifying to see many leaders like this specifically calling for violence. But let me know in the comments. This is one of the most viral things of the week. Are you surprised? Have you seen this already with your friends? Let me know, because as always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Ford having another recall, this time with the F-150. It just might, accidentally drop into first gear at any speed, which, quite horrifying to say the least, and no, not good for the transmission. Yet another reason they should offer the F-150 with a manual transmission, also known as having 3 pedals, also known as the most fun you'll ever have while driving, because again, wouldn't have that issue in this case. Just saying, unfortunately, there's only one truck in the United States that you can buy new with a stick shift, and truth be told, is infinitely more reliable, partially because this Toyota is the Toyota Tacoma, which again, you could also get in green, which if I won the lottery, I'd definitely get at least one of those, just because who wouldn't want a truck with a stick shift? Well, I know a majority of people know, but you know me, there's no way I'd ever drive anything else with that. But nevertheless, this is coming to us thanks to Natalia Amond over at USA Today. And they say, quote, Ford recalls more than 550,000 trucks because transmissions can suddenly downshift. Well, that's not great, Ford. What are you guys thinking? You guys have the top talented people assembling these vehicles, the United Auto Workers, the most expensive and talented union on the planet making these vehicles. How could there be an issue? Oh, that's kind of funny. They actually make the most unreliable cars. Of the top 10 cars that are estimated to reach 100,000 miles, there's one that was manufactured by the UAW. Ironically, it was actually the Ford F-150. Everything else was Honda or Toyota. I don't think that's a coincidence. Now, in this case, this also appears to be a sensor. I'm not saying it's installed properly. Maybe it's a manufacturing defect of the subcontractor who actually assembled it. But nevertheless, we'll dive in right here. Now, they say, quote, according to a report updated Monday by National Highway, roll call. They say that, quote, Ford's recalling more than 550,000 pickup trucks because some transmissions can suddenly downshift in first gear, creating a possible crash hazard for regulators. In an updated report Monday, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration wrote in its opening investigation into a recall of some of its F-150 vehicles made in 2014 by the Dearborn, Michigan headquartered company. According to the NHTSA, the recall covers 552,188 of the pickups due to a loss of signal between the transmission output shaft speed sensor and the powertrain control module, causing the truck to downshift in first gear, no matter how fast the vehicle speed is. Again, you wouldn't have if it had 3 pedals in the manual transmission and you were in charge of the fun driving experience. Again, there's only a couple of models of vehicles with it out there. Go out and buy it today while you still can. I cannot implore you enough. You will smile ear to ear when you're driving. It is so much more fun. No, it's not as fast. But again, I partially digress. They say that, quote, in addition, NHTSA wrote that there could be corrosion and issues with the pickup truck's transmission's connector pins. Now, they note that they're going to be mailing these recalls later this year. They said that, quote, dealers in the agency were noted beginning of June 17th. Ford said that they will have mail notifications to let go into owners starting July 1st. Or just tune into this show and tell your friends, since we're usually ahead of the curve, especially when it comes to these types of recalls. Now, in terms of the recall number, which fascinatingly enough, you could argue if there's really infinite number combinations, depending on how many, there are large numbers, those 3 or 4 or 5, there are certain limitations. Ford is really pushing it to the limit with all these recalls on how many different number combinations are left to name the recalls, but I partially digress. if you want to call Ford to see if your specific truck is affected by this recall, you can call Ford customer service, which I'm sure this number stays pretty busy. It's 1-866-436-7332. Again, their customer service is 1-866-436-7332. Now, the recall number specifically is 24V244. Again, or 24V244. That is a specific recall number for this particular issue. And again, in terms of business blunder, I mean, Ford, they've acquiesced from a lot of product categories. They used to make a lot of cars. I mean, the Ford Focus ST was a really fun hot hatch. And of course, it only came with the manual transmission, as cars should all be by default, I would argue. But they've been plagued with so many issues, and the profit margins are so slim on a lot of the crossovers, and a lot of the, not crossovers, rather, these sedans and coupes, that they killed all their cars with the exception of the iconic Ford Pony Mustang. And I believe they had the Fusion for police sales. But everything else is gone. They focus on trucks and SUVs. Spoiler alert, that's where a majority of their profit comes from. And the F-150, of all the vehicles they make, that's supposed to be, I mean, they used to have the funny commercials where they have a big heavy-duty piece of metal that said Ford Tough drop into, looked like just dirt, and then the dirt would crumble. Ironically, when I see that commercial, I kind of think that the actual sign, the metallic sign that says Ford Tough, should crumble to a million pieces because they have so many subsequent recalls. Now, again, in this case, this is their showcase vehicle. It's the most popular truck, bar none, by number of units sold every year. Not by reliability, but I can't help but wonder how much, I mean, because there's also a cult following when it comes to trucks. I mean, a lot of people buy trucks just because they've had the same brand in the family for generations. There's a huge cultural aspect to the purchasing a truck. It's kind of fascinating. But again, in terms of business blunder, they keep having recalls for their most iconic and most profitable vehicle. These trucks they're more expensive than a house in some cases. The prices have gone up so much. That's, of course, also partially due to record inflation, thanks to the ineptitudes of our government. But this is your most important thing you make for it. This is what people buy. People are spending over $100,000 on a truck. Ironically, when trucks were first invented for the mass market, it was invented for farm equipment. It is cheaper than a car. Now the equation is kind of flipped in many cases. So Ford having yet another recall, which again wouldn't have an issue if you had the option of giving people a manual transmission with 3 pedals, as all cars have by default, and trucks. But yes, having a recall of your most profitable, most important vehicle in the entire company in the lineup, I gotta say, Ford, that is certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. Again, trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you could click that button, I really appreciate it. Also, leave a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.